February the 24th, 2022. Students of the Kyiv Polytechnic Institute went down from the dormitories to the shelter for the first time, and that time around not because of educational, but because of real anxiety. The premises had been prepared in advance, and they were useful then not only to students, but also to residents of buildings adjacent to the university campus and passers-by. For many people, they almost became a second home, because air alarms were a terrible everyday thing for residents of Kyiv. Some workers of the dormitory couldn't get to work, so their functions were performed by students. During the first days of the war, most of them had left. At the same time, those who stayed didn't sit around doing nothing, but actively volunteered and built and strengthened protective constructions on the territory of the university and in the surrounding streets. However, their number was gradually decreasing. People were leaving. In the park and on the territory of the university, there were clashes with sabotage and reconnaissance groups of the enemy. During the street fight on Peremoge Avenue and in nearby streets, the windows of the university's control room and lecture hall were also affected. Traces of shots were found in the trees of the university park. Most likely, the infiltrators had tried to use it as a hideout, but they had been pushed out. Remains of weapons were found near the first and the fourth buildings of the institute. 2 days later, law enforcement officers detained a sabotage and reconnaissance group near the Polytechnic Institute metro station. The enemy had been trying to penetrate the territory of KPI facilities, in particular the repair and construction department. Such events unexpectedly affected the lives of students of the Kyiv Polytechnic Institute. This became a real strength test for them. The history of KPI was enriched with the new pages that once again emphasized the importance and power of this educational institution.
130 years ago, there was a training ground for the Sapper regiment here. Just a wasteland, and only the wind carried the pollen across the lifeless spaces. At that time, no one even guessed that in 1898 the construction of the Kyiv Polytechnic Institute would begin here, the institution which would become one of the best higher education institutions in independent Ukraine. Needless to say about its importance in the current defense of Kyiv.
At the end of the 19th century, the Industrial Revolution broke out in the Russian Empire. Manual work was increasingly being replaced by mechanical one, and the need for technical specialists was becoming more urgent than ever.
In Kyiv, there was already the Imperial University of St. Volodymyr, today it's the Shevchenko University, and the Kyiv Mohyla Academy. But the problem was that they did not train engineers at that time.
On October 1st, 1896, Minister of Finance Vite himself, who was a well-known statesman and reformer, arrived in Kyiv by express train from Moscow. Among the urgent problems reported to the minister was a request to open a secondary technical educational institution in Kyiv, to which Vite unexpectedly proposed to open the first specialized technical institute.
This is Tereshchenkivska Street, named after the owner of the sugar factory and philanthropist Mykola Tereshchenko, and here is the house where he lived. From here, a letter was sent to the address of Kyiv Governor-General Ignatiev. Count Alexei Pavlovich. The need to establish a Polytechnic Institute in Kyiv arose as a result of the development of the industrial life of the southwestern region. It is urgent. I support it. Then another sugar factory owner, Lazar Brodsky, donated 100,000. The city council issued 5% loan bonds with an overall cost of 300,000. 140 unions, banks, factories, organizations and private individuals invested their money in the institute. A total of 1 million rubles of absolutely free donations were collected. On the one hand, this was charity, a demonstration of one's usefulness to society at the place of residence. On the other hand, Jews are very wise people. They don't just give money away. Once again, we need to emphasize the fact that the money was invested primarily for the training of specialists who would serve the enterprises of the sugar industry. It was much more profitable to do this than to invite incompetent people, foreigners, and pay them a lot of money.
The judges emphasized that the project was executed with a talented use of original Gothic motifs. All the pavilions are spacious, they are interconnected and designed to achieve maximum natural lighting.
It is true that the projects had to be reworked in order to fit into the curvature and budget.
The construction of the chemical building started first. The contract was won by the company of the famous developer Ginsberg. At the same time, Ginsberg was already finishing the construction of a commercial technical school on Bulvarno-Kudryavska Street.
Lazar Brodsky made considerable donations to boost the technical school and the institute. But when the construction of the former coincided with the putting into operation the latter, a great idea occurred to him. Why not start the educational process in the building of the technical school? Why delay? Viktor Kirpichov, an outstanding scientist, mechanic, founder of the School of Strengths, was appointed the first director of the Kyiv Polytechnic Institute of Emperor Alexander II. Kirpichov is gathering a real teaching dream team. The outstanding physicist Beketov, the brilliant mathematician Steklov, the founder of the science of metal cutting Zvarykin, the chemist Reformatsky, the mechanic Delaunay, the botanist and plant breeder Vochau, and many other famous scientists have agreed to work at the institute, which had just started functioning.
Meanwhile, the construction of the institute complex was in full swing.
The contractors were chosen from among the best candidates. They were building thoroughly for a full due. And in 1902, the institute celebrated its birthday.
In the official act of acceptance of the board of KPI, the following objects were recorded: a garden on 103 acres, the main building for the mechanical, engineering and agricultural faculties, with a greenhouse and polytunnels, the building of the chemical faculty with the largest research chemical pavilion in Europe, 2 residential buildings for professors and employees, mechanical foundries, a separate glazed building for crop production, and finally an experimental field that included a cattle shed.
The revolution brutally dealt with the descendants of philanthropists who had given their city a stronghold of science and culture. The families of Tereshchenko, Brodsky and many others who participated in the construction of the KPI lost their property and were forced to emigrate. Almost 100 years would pass before their great-grandchildren could return to their historic homeland, however already in a completely different position and status. And from 1907 to 1912, a student after whom the institute would be named in 100 years studied here. It was Igor Ivanovich Sikorsky. While still at the institute, Sikorsky built his 2 simplest helicopters and brought his first plane to the sky.
The talent of the young engineer was out of question. He created the world's first multi-engine aircraft, Ilya Muromets and Ruski Vitязь, but that was just the beginning.
In 1918, one of his former colleagues who worked for the Bolsheviks warned Sikorsky, "The situation is very dangerous. I saw the order for your execution."
Sikorsky had to flee abroad. Poverty, hard physical labor and no prospects for him. Only thanks to the help of emigrants, Sikorsky managed to open his office.
Today, Sikorsky is a symbol of aircraft and rotorcraft engineering. His helicopters can cross oceans, presidents travel on them, and his alma mater is named in his honor. Modern students study within the same walls as their great-grandfathers, and scientific dynasties are becoming commonplace. But when we talk about the history of the KPI, it is impossible not to mention the grandiose construction activities that began in the 70s and made the KPI the one we know today.
In 1973-1975, the Kyiv Project Institute, under the leadership of the chief architect Likhovodov, designed the general plan for the construction of KPI. The style of the new buildings was brutalism. More than 20 new facilities were built, including educational and laboratory buildings, a scientific and technical library, a knowledge square, a culture and arts center, a sports center and a dormitory. The area of KPI has tripled and is more than 20,000 square meters. Now KPI is also a popular filming location. Its diverse interiors and exteriors, which symbolize the eras of the 19th, 20th centuries and already 20 years of the 21st century, can be seen in films and series, in music videos, world-famous stars and international advertising.
Вот уже почти 120 лет.
For almost 120 years, KPI has been consistently included in the list of the best universities. Sikorsky, Korolev, Patton, Mozgovy, and even Lobanovsky. The list of outstanding alumni takes up several pages, and the Kyiv Polytechnic Institute has long since become a real talent foundry, the source of the Ukrainian intellectual elite.
Это уже не часть истории.
This is no longer a part of history, it is history itself. Ukraine is justifiably proud of Kyiv Hogwarts graduates, who have always been recognized at the international level. Many of them already have their own technologies and startups, and headhunters from all over the world know that they need to look for top talents not among graduates, but among students of KPI.
Студентов КПИ.
Even during the war, young inventors continued to develop their projects so that the Ukrainian flag could be raised in the international educational arena. Innovative technologies and developments will contribute to the post-war reconstruction of Ukraine. Currently, scientists continue to create technologies to strengthen our defense forces. Igor Klimenko, a student of National Technical University of Ukraine, Igor Sikorsky Kyiv Polytechnic Institute, became a winner of the International Student Award, Global Student Prize. He won a scholarship of $100,000 for the development of his invention, a mine-detecting drone. A quadcopter mine detector helps to determine the location of mines lying on the ground from the air.
Ми можемо набагато пришвидшити процес.
We can speed up the demining process a lot because this quadcopter is able to work day and night in different weather conditions. The drone finds mines, transmits information, and then with this known data, sappers will be able to simply follow the coordinates, which is much faster.
And university employees, in cooperation with a security company, have created a unique technology that makes bulletproof and fireproof glass transparent armor. Tests proved that it could withstand 4 shots from a Kalashnikov rifle at a distance of only 10 meters. The large surface of this glass is able to withstand the impact of even more bullets. The war divided the lives of Ukrainians into before it and after it. The psychological state of students is not easy these days. Concerned about the fate of their homeland, they must also find the strength to study. Since the beginning of the new stage of the war, significant changes have taken place in our education system. More than 1,500 educational institutions were destroyed or damaged in Ukraine, including schools, vocational schools, colleges, and universities. Many students were forced to leave their homes and educational institutions and continue to gain qualifications abroad. However, every Ukrainian works on his own front for the victory of Ukraine. The Kyiv Polytechnic Institute is holding on. What's more, it also withstood the new challenges with dignity. Now it initiates new joint projects with European universities, expands international cooperation. Students and scientists obtain victories and present new developments and innovations. They are ready to adapt to any situation and find creative solutions to make the machine of progress and recovery more powerful. After all, the Kyiv Polytechnic Institute is an integral part of the success of firm and strong Ukraine, which is building its future and is steadily moving towards victory.